And good afternoon and welcome back. This public hearing conducted by the Committee on Land, Environment, Housing, Agriculture, Parks, and Infrastructure is reconvening and it is now 2:00 p.m. Today's date is Tuesday, February 18, 2025. As a reminder, today's notice of today's hearing was disseminated to all local media outlets on February 11, 2025, with the second notice provided on February 16, 2025. Notice of the hearing was also made known on the Guam Legislature's website and the Government of Guam Public Notice Portal. This afternoon, the committee will hear testimony on the appointment of Mr. Gerald P. Yingling as a member of the Guam Land Use Commission for a term of 5 years from the date of confirmation. I would like to welcome my colleagues for joining us today, Senator Lujan, Senator Matanani, Senator Gumatautau, Senator Calvo, and Senator Borja. On this side, Senator Chris Barnett. Thank you, sir. Come on down. You can move over. Before we begin, I'd like to remind the panel and the audience of our general rules of conduct. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and shall state their name for the record-keeping purposes. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or individual testifying is not permitted. The chairperson on the committee may order the removal from the hearing any member of the legislature Guam who fails to observe proper decorum pursuant to the 38th Guam Legislature Standing Rules. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in the removal from the hearing by the host. We will now proceed with hearing testimony on the appointment of Mr. Gerald Yingling. If there's anyone who would like to testify before I call the appointee up. Mr. Yingling, please come forward. Just state your name for the record, sir.
Well, first I want to congratulate all of you on your election and re-elections, and I'm quite honored to be here. All my life, anytime the government asked me to do something, I've offered myself, and this is no exception as well for the GLUC. That's it.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and open the questions from my colleagues that you may be able to answer for them. I'll go ahead and start with Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I think Senator Gumatautau came before me, so, oh, okay, no problem. Right? Okay. So let me yield to Senator Gumatautau. He came before me.
Thank you, Senator Lujan, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first off, Jerry, can I just tell you, thank you for your service to not only to our country as a son of a U.S. Marine. I can appreciate that, and again, thank you for your service. Also, your storied history as a public servant in the U.S. territory is not any secret. I think that many of us up here would agree that you have served with distinction. I only have one question for you, if I could, and I know that there's a lot of conversations about some of the backlog at the Guam Land Use Commission and some of the impacts that it has on the economy. I just have just a simple question what kind of ideas do you think that you can bring to the Land Use Commission to really move us into 2025 and beyond to help move applications to the Land Use Commission?
In preparation for today's confirmation hearing, I read some of the minutes and what the staff submitted. And actually, I have to say I'm quite impressed with what the staff compiles so that the commission can make really educated decisions on where to move. But I saw some of the problems lies with the lack of quorum. And that means, I have to say this. This is my original nomination was January of 2024. And one of the things that I read in the minutes was that Jerry Yingling was going to be a nominee for the GLUC, which never came about. I have no idea why. That's a prior session of Congress. But anyway, here we are today, and I'll do my best. And I take anything I do seriously. I know I joke around and I'm kind of jovial at times, but I do take this job very seriously. And I do think, Guam desperately needs to have greater economic activity. And through that, GLUC plays, I think, a major role.
Well, that was my only question, Jerry, and you got my support. And again, thank you for your service to the people of Guam. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Ura.
Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have too many questions as well. Likewise, Jerry had served quite a number of years, and actually, when I got his packet, I thought it was going to be one of the agencies that I oversee. So, okay. no, where are my nominees, right, or appointees? But anyway, congratulations on wanting to step up to the plate with this. But, again, just want to ask you about, the bottlenecks that we have. I mean, the situation that we're in at this point, economic situation that we're in at this point, we definitely have policies and procedures that, need to be updated. When we look at it, we think of ourselves as being business friendly, but we really aren't at this point. We really aren't. What are your suggestions for the GLUC to move forward and to expedite, but also be, again, cognizant on being environmentally friendly, as well as make sure that all pertinent laws are adhered to, but to expedite, again, the permitting process of just folks who've again at times have just given up in the GovGuam permitting process.
Well, most of the laws going back, from the 20th legislature, 21st, and the 30th, and it probably all needs to be reviewed again. This is a different world, and it's just like an example, what the legislature is taking up now about whether or not a 5-year lease is reasonable or not. Well, I'm a businessman, and I happen to know that, 5 years, if you're renting and you have another location you can go to, that's fine. But if you're going to be putting brick and mortar into the ground, 5 years is really not sufficient. And, I had the same problem when I was up at the airport. We had quite a few people wanting to invest, but you have to turn them away because you couldn't get a moratorium or a change in the law. And that's just the way I view it.
Likewise, there are situations with sign laws that come to the GLUC, right? What is your position on that? Because there really isn't a comprehensive sign law for Guam. What is your position on that?
You're saying signs?
Signs, yes.
As in what we saw recently,
they're static,
in the activity
they're static signs, there's digital signs, signs in general, signs in general. Because I know that they used to go to the GLUC, but now I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, DPW, and so, it's just, I guess...
It's my understanding that DPW is the one that has the authority or control to regulate the sign activity. Whether that comes to the GLUC or not, frankly, at this point, I don't know. Something that I will need to learn. But, I agree that, especially having indulged in it myself a little bit, there are very loose interpretations of some of the rules. And I think that could easily be tightened up. But again, I think that's DPW's bailiwick.
Okay. And the problem actually over the years that I'm sure you've heard as well is with the GLUC is the quorum, because I remember even trying to go before GLUC and trying to get some approvals, and I tell you it took at least a year because you had a quorum problem.
The most recent minutes I read was March 14th, 2024. And again, as I said, it was my nomination was mentioned in those minutes. And here it is a year later, almost a year later.
Okay. And you make, what would you make? You be the third? Would you be the third?
I think the fourth.
You'll be the fourth?
Yeah, fourth.
Fourth.
There's the chair, the vice chair, and then Mr. Pangilinan.
Okay.
And then myself.
Okay, so you...
If you so see to it that I...
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm good for right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Lujan. Senator Borja, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jerry, for coming down here today and accepting the appointment and coming before us. I just have a couple questions in regards to just really community engagement, like how do you plan to involve local communities, the stakeholders, especially in the land use decision-making process when it comes to zoning and
two things. I mean, one, you always got to go back to the basic law that is the land management operates under, and the building codes and all of that. But I think what's even more important, especially when there's a request for an exception or a change in status, is really up to the staff. They've done excellent work. From everything I've read, very comprehensive work for the commission to review and know what the facts are in a request.
And then, another question I had, this issue right now with the Attorney General and the hospital, what are your thoughts on where, I know it's still being litigated in court, but do you think that the GURA was, in the right in how they went and got this land for the new hospital? What are your thoughts on that?
I only know what I've read in the newspaper, which is, from my past experience, I don't necessarily believe everything I see in a newspaper, and not to speak poorly of any journalists or anything. But having said that, I really think that is going to be needed to be settled in the court. One thing that is for certain, we need a better hospital. We need better medical facilities on Guam. Now, whether the field is a good place to put it in Manila, or whether to do something, that's above my pay grade. Should that come for the GLUC, I would say that that's going to be a very long and very difficult decision for all of the commissioners.
I have no further questions. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Borja. Senator Barnett, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Yingling, for your opening remarks. I guess my only experience with your experience is your tenure as the former executive manager at the Guam International Airport Authority. Right, and so there have been some questionable purchases that you've made with the Airport Authority issued credit card?
Actually, that is incorrect.
Go ahead.
That was, I purchased a room night for my chairman in Seoul, Korea, and it was ratified, but that never came out. But anyway, I was vindicated, so.
Right. So you went to court, and then it was determined that you didn't make any purchases that were illegal or improper.
It was proper.
Okay.
It was approved by the board.
So are you disputing the credit card charges for the $100 steaks and the strip clubs? Or no?
There's no strip clubs, no $100 steaks.
I don't know, because like I said, my only experience is having written a song about you. So when I saw your nomination come up last year, after all these years, I guess my first question would be, where were you, or where do you have been living in the time after your service as the airport executive manager? And then when did you come back?
I think perhaps I could really help you by giving you the order and decision from the Supreme Court, clearing my name and clearing the expenditures, and saying that they recognize that they were legitimately for business.
Right. That's what I'm not saying. You're not disputing that you made the purchases. You're just disputing whether or not, well, the court said that, yeah, they were for business purposes, but I think the public can make a determination whether or not they thought they were valid or, made within good judgment. And I just would categorically disagree that, strip clubs and whining and dining, I'm not good with that. But anyway, if you could fill in the gaps.
No, it's easy for anybody to make an allegation, and especially on a small island when you have other people that are acting as repeaters or boosters for that kind of information or misinformation, if I may say so. But you got to be tough. You got to take it. I mean, look, I had better people wanting to kill me in the Marine Corps, so, there you go.
So you were away from Guam for like how many years, and then what prompted your return to the island?
No, I wasn't really gone that long. I had some gigs, consulting work, which took me away from Guam, but I was always coming back within a month or two. I'd spend, my wife's here, a week or two, then go back, for a couple weeks, back and forth. That was like a yo-yo.
Are you familiar with the recent issues surrounding commissioners on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission and their firing by the governor?
Pardon me?
Are you familiar with the commissioners that the governor recently fired from the Chamorro Land Trust Commission?
I know some of the commissioners there that are still there. The two that were fired, I don't know them. I may have met them. I don't recall right offhand.
One of the tenets and one of the rules for the Chamorro Land Trust commissioners is that they are not allowed to be, or they're, in a perfect world, not supposed to be victims of political persecution or political influence. Are we going to have that type of issue if you're confirmed to the Guam Land Use Commission, one way or the other?
I'm not a yes man, if that's what you're asking. Yeah. I do what I think is right, and I can walk away from something that I don't think is right. So that's my full answer.
There's a lot of talk, both up here on the diet and in the public hearing rooms, not just this term, but in the previous term, about rules and regulations pertaining to land in the government of Guam. And there seems to be this narrative that, and it's a little ironic because I heard the governor say this at a function the other day, about bureaucracy impeding progress. What are your thoughts on that, and where do you, as someone who may be making very significant decisions about our island's land use, where do you stand on, responsible development versus throwing the guardrails off?
What was the last part of that?
Where do you stand in terms of, relative to land use, with regards to regulations and the thought that they impede progress?
Well, we are a country of laws, at least for the time being. And, we have to live within those laws. It may seem bureaucratic at times, but, greater minds than mine have created many of those laws. And if it's time to change them, then you bring them forth the idea to make the changes. I, as a private citizen, can do that. If I see something that I think is absolutely an impediment to Guam's growth or to Guam's ability to really create jobs, of course I'm going to speak up.
Are you confident that, given your close relationship with the administration, you'll be able to execute your duties as a land use commissioner impartially and independently and free of bias?
I'll be honest, dude, I don't even know if the administration likes me, but here I am. So I hope they trust me. I believe that they trust me.
Can you answer the question?
Pardon?
Are you going to be able to serve,
Well, if that's up to you right now, but yes.
Are you going to be able to serve independently and, free of political influence and
Oh,
bias?
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
I go back to the Marine Corps. One thing about us, we're a bunch of blockheads. We're stubborn, and we do what we think is right. And, one of the big deals that I had going through my nonsense back 20 years ago with some of the talking heads in the media making claims that were untrue, it really, that hurts the pride of a Marine. We live by honor, and we'll die by honor. And actually our motto is death before dishonor. And of course, I will do what I think is right, period.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Senator Calvo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Jerry, for being here, and thank you for accepting the appointment. It is not easy to be a board member. It entails a lot of time and energy. And looking at your documents here, I could see that you have an extensive experience as a professional, as a business person, and also with your community involvement. I have a few questions for you, sir. Can you share more about your background and how your experience prepares you for this role on the GLUC?
Originally, in my earlier years, I wanted to be an academic. And after I was in graduate school and looking to go to become a PhD, I realized I was tired of spending money and wanted to make money. And so I started working and immediately went into business. And, business has really broadened a person's perspective on virtually everything. I was very fortunate. When I got out of the Marine Corps, it was a very bad time. It was 1973 from active duty. We were almost in a depression. We had the OPEC oil shock and all of that. And the job I got was, believe it or not, the U.S. Post Office. I was an auditor. And becoming an auditor for the post office for these small little substations, it's incredible what it teaches you about business and about money. And money is alive. I know that sounds weird, but numbers are alive. And it's brought me all this way. For everything I do, basically, I think like an auditor.
What specific skills or expertise do you bring that will benefit the Commission's decision-making process?
I'm sorry?
What specific skills or expertise do you bring that will benefit the Commission's decision-making process?
Well, I am a realtor, and I studied extensively for real estate and the laws governing it. And also, like I said, in preparation for this, I pulled out the old laws that land management and the GLUC are based on. And that's not going to be the last time I pull them out, because it's a constant reference. Anytime something comes up as a question of whether or not it's a yay or a nay to proceed. So I can read well, I can learn well.
My last question. Have you ever been involved in land use planning, zoning, or real estate development on Guam?
One more time.
Have you ever been involved in land use planning, zoning, or real estate development on Guam?
Tangentially, yes, but not directly. Indirectly,
As a consultant?
Yes. Pardon?
As a consultant, or?
Yeah, as a consultant, people wanting to do things and find out whether or not it's actually doable or viable or feasible. So through that process, and I've known a lot of people that are in the industry, and interfacing with them and knowing something about what they've gone through and what they intend to do has helped me learn a lot. Like I said, tangentially, not. It's kind of like learning by osmosis.
That's all. Thank you so much, Mr. Jerry. I just want to let you know I support your appointment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Calvo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Matanani.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Thank you also for accepting this appointment. You and I, we go back a long time. I'm actually one of the people I think you were referring to in terms of being in the media. And as my former colleague, or since my former news colleague had brought up regarding your past. And so I also wanted just to provide clarification to the viewing public that is watching that he was correct in terms of the charges that were brought up in the past, but the Supreme Court did review your case and reverse that conviction, which means that you were acquitted of any criminal wrongdoing, and your record was cleared of the conviction. So I just wanted to make sure for the public that's watching that they understand and know what happened. But my question—
I appreciate that. I really do, because it's been a long time in coming.
Right. And my question is, what role do you see the Guam Land Use Commission, if any, with the military buildup in balancing development with environmental sustainability and community needs?
I can't speak for the other commissioners. I don't know them as well as I should yet. But quite frankly, with what's going on with the military buildup, I think the GLUC certainly needs to be front and foremost observing what is taking place. I was shocked when I went out past Utsumbo and to see the Camp Laws activity that's going over there. And it's my understanding that we're in for far more troops coming in. And the expansion of, if the number's correct, it's going to add almost 20 to 30% more to the population we have now. That is going to be a strain on our infrastructure like nothing else. And I think GLUC is going to be called upon to address a lot of that strain, to find places or ways to relieve the strain. I've heard the number is maybe as many as 50,000 troops are going to be added to Guam. Not all permanent, but through rotation, and that's a significant number. I mean, if you add that on to 170,000 now. That's housing is going to be already a problem. I mean, we all know that. Nothing secret in that. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Matanani. And I'd like to apologize to my colleagues, Senator Chalahi, Parkinson, and Senator Telo-Taidegui for not recognizing them earlier when they first came in. So next up will be Senator Chalahi. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Yingling.
Thank you.
So there was some talk about the GLUC delays and the lack of a quorum, but I asked GLUC for really the details. And so there was a time when their quorum, they were horrendous in not having a quorum and causing delays, but that's not now. With the new chair, Dr. Anita Enriquez, and the board members that are active, and there are 3, so a total of 4, they've been able to make a quorum all except for twice last year. And so they've got they've got 4 of 5 members. You would be the 5th. And they only need 3 for a quorum. So they have been actually very successful in making that. And their record, I also asked them, because there was so much testimony in previous hearings on unrelated topics about the delays by GLUC. But really, their record is very good compared to what it used to be. They receive permit applications and when those are finally accepted, meaning everything's completed that they were supposed to submit, the GLUC has been able to approve it in many cases within a month. And then same thing, I think the one that's taken long is the workforce housing. Some of those require the municipal public hearing dates. It looks to me like the municipal holding those hearings has been maybe taking longer than what the GLUC actually does. So once that agency review comes in, GLUC has been able to act very promptly, within a month again after the Municipal Planning Council has their hearing. So I'm hoping that your addition to the board is going to continue this trend of theirs. And we asked about it because of workforce housing, because there was a big complaint that we don't have enough workforce housing, and it's the GLUC that's taking too long. But their response to me is very clear that there have only been 7 new applications, and that prior to that, they have still 10,317 beds approved for workforce housing. They haven't used any, there's so much of that still available. So anyway, so hopefully, so the governor's recent firing of Chamorro Trust commissioners seem to be intended to, remind everybody that she's the boss, and if you don't agree with her, she might remove you from this commission or board. Would that have an effect on you? Are you, this whole confirmation hearing to me is to ensure that these applicants are going to act independent after they become confirmed. If not, it's a mockery what we're doing here and asking those questions, and we want them to be independent. Are you willing and able to do that?
No, listen, I agree. I'm not easily manipulated. You can convince me if I'm wrong, or if I think I might be wrong, but manipulation is not one thing that I'm really adept at.
I appreciate that. And your business background in the nomination packet says JT's Manukan, LLC, Remedies, LLC, and Alliance Realty. And so you mentioned also that you're a real estate agent.
They've been dormant since COVID, but I've kept the companies alive.
Okay. Do you believe your real estate agent capacity might give you any conflict serving on this board?
No, I just recused myself, very simply.
Right.
And I'm not a major landholder myself. I have a small little parcel in Tamuning that I don't think is going to cause any problems, but if it does, I will recuse myself immediately.
Thank you. And so when I was first elected senator, one of the first things we dealt with was the Guam Land Use Commission had at that time approved applications for signs that were contrary to the law, according to the Attorney General at the time. So my question to you, those members are not serving anymore. My question to you is, what are you going to do if the Attorney General is advising you that this is contrary to the law, this proposed action?
I would have to research to see if that is correct information. Pure and simple. The laws are, let's face it, Guam laws, like any place's laws, are complex because, notwithstanding blah, 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 and go back. Like I said, the things that GLUC is dealing with, Some of it's from the 20th legislature, some is from the 21st, some is from the 30th. So, you know, you have to continue to refer to these to make sure that you have solid footing in making your decisions. But the staff, again, I got to compliment the staff at Land Management. I've read their work that they've submitted to the commissioners, and it's very thorough and it's very factual. And even when there's not necessarily somebody contesting something, but somebody that is questioning whether or not a project should go through or not, they addressed it in its entirety, so the commission could then open air discuss the issue. So I was impressed. I was impressed with that.
Yes, they're very good right now. I think that's why they've been able to accomplish things within a month that used to take maybe a year. But as to ignoring the Attorney General's advice that something's contrary to the law, you're saying you would have to do your own independent research?
No, I'm not going to do anything that's contrary to the law, period. I mean, I'm just not going to do that. I don't need to be accused of breaking the law, and I'm not going to. I have no intention of breaking any laws.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Parkinson, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Half a day, sir.
Hi.
So I just got a few questions. First off, do you want the job?
Well, I mean, you know, the remuneration is great. You know, it's 0, so it's fine. No, I mean, look, you know, I said earlier, before you came, that you know, I've been called upon by my government, even as an early age. You know, when the draft was going on, I avoided the draft by enlisting, and you know, and other things. You know, I mean, I've been involved with government quite often, and anytime a governor or the government has asked me to do something, I do it. You know, it's an honor.
I understand that, but now that you've been asked, do you want to do it?
Sure. I want to see a better Guam. You know, I really do. You know, I love Guam. I'm a Guamanian by choice, and you know, I've never lived a place better than Guam. You know, you don't have a lot of angry white guys running around, and you know, there's a lot of peace, and a lot of families are really integrated, and there's very few problems amongst Guamanians themselves. And for that, I mean, you're stuck with me. You know, let me put it that way.
So if we were to give you this position, what do you want to do with it?
Pardon?
What do you want to do with it? What are your intentions with this, this appointment? Like, what do you want to do if we give you this power and responsibility to be on this commission?
I will participate with the other commissioners, and I'm sure that we're going to have some rounds of discussion and maybe argument, maybe debate. I'm more than willing to do that. Again, you know, I will develop my own opinions, and proven wrong, you know, it's not hard for me to change. You know, and I think some of you up there can say that if I felt that I was wrong, I corrected it.
Okay, and can you tell the people of Guam, how do we know you'll do the right thing when nobody is watching?
That is probably the most difficult question of all. It's, you know, I can't say I can't look myself in the mirror and shave because I have a beard, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, I have to look at myself. I have two grandchildren, 2 years old and one 6, going on 7 months old. And I want to see a better Guam for them. And believe it or not, with the advent of them and with Vanessa, I want to do what is right. I want to make sure that any contributions I do is for the good of all. And I don't need anything for myself, basically. I'm okay. Like I said, the remuneration's fine with me. It's zero, that's great. You know, I mean, it is what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Yingling. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Parkinson. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to my colleagues, and hi, Jerry. I'm surprised last time we talked, I thought you were going after the Chamorro Land Trust. Is that true? That
the restaurant?
You were actually vying for the Chamorro Land Trust in the position, or was it always the Guam Land Use Commission?
I'm having a problem with the echo in here.
Oh, no, believe me, I hear you. I have the same issue here. So let me get a little bit closer to the mic. The last time we spoke, I think you were vying for a seat on the Chamorro Land Trust Commission.
No, actually it was for the GLUC.
Oh, okay, so it was always the Guam Land Use Commission?
Yeah, the submission was January of 2024.
Okay. Jerry, have you had an opportunity to listen into at least I think the latest one was October 2024, on the 24th, the last meeting that was the Guam Land Commission had? Did you have a chance?
I've been going through all of the minutes that I can, and especially of greater interest actually was the supporting documents the staff gave to the commission, because they're the ones on the ground. They're the ones that have lived and breathed this for quite a long time, and like I said, I've said this several times. I was very impressed with their work. Very confident that making good decisions based on what they proposed.
Yeah. It's always nice, too, to have that institutional knowledge, and hopefully we can pass that on to the next generation who comes and steps up to the plate to serve in a capacity as a board member. Are you filling the place of someone else, or did someone resign, or...
To be honest with you, I don't know. Like I said, last year, I had a call out of the governor's office about being on the GLUC, and they submitted my packet, and apparently then they've renewed it now. There was no action on it last year.
Okay. I see. Okay, thank you. A lot of the questions were being asked, and you answered them well enough, but one of the concerns I have too, of course, is, like you said earlier, you're not a yes man, and I know that you and your wife have been very advocate for the island and wanting to improve it, and saying about your 2 grandchildren. I mean, that explains a lot of why we do the things we do today, is to ensure a better life for our future, and that's our children, that are coming out, and their children. So whatever decisions we make for our land will make a big difference. Especially, you've seen sweetheart deals before, and it's very concerning because we're living some of these past mistakes currently, and getting through with trying to overcome those, but to remember what happened in the past is very instrumental in the future. Will the Guam Land Use Commission at all address anything with this new hospital in Manila? Will they be addressing anything at all?
Well, you said past mistakes. I think what is really incumbent upon all of the commissioners is to make sure that anything that they make as a change is not establishing a precedent that has unintended consequences down the road. And I fear that we have a lot of that from history. I'm not pointing to current any organization or agency, but there were precedents set that are harmful and impede economic development. And I think economic development is actually one of the most important things for Guam right now. We can have a very tough future ahead of us with what happened from COVID and tourism drying up the way it has. It's been replaced with some military activity, but even that can go away, as we know.
So back to the question of, will Guam Land Use Commission at all address anything that has to do with the new hospital or land that's in that area?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So other than that, again, thank you for stepping up to the plate. And if there's anything I can do, my office is always open if you have any questions or anything I can do to assist you at all. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Teidigui. Mr. Yingling, I'd just like to thank you for coming before the committee for your confirmation hearing this afternoon. I look forward to voting on your confirmation in the upcoming session. The only question I do have is that, as you heard one of my colleagues mention that they've been having a constant quorum now. I hope that you would be always willing and ready to ensure that that continues.
I will not play hooky, if that's what you're worried about. I will show up. I will attend.
No, not at all. And I think my question was, would you always look for things to always bring to the table before the commission that is of concern to you, that perhaps may not be right or that may not be in accordance with law, or that, anything that you may question that you would always bring forward to the commission?
Vice Speaker, you're a veteran, and you know that you would not follow an unlawful order. And Marines don't do that either. Unlawful orders are unlawful orders, and you are not to follow them. And that goes in civilian life as military life, period.
Thank you for that. And like we always say, right, it takes us as many years as we live to build our integrity. And we're not going to let 5 minutes of that destroy what we've built. Took a lifetime to build. And with that, I'd like to thank you for coming today before the committee.
And I want to thank all of you for having me here and being very nice.
I guess that was your closing remarks, huh? Okay, Mr. Yingling. This will conclude this afternoon's confirmation hearing on the appointment of Mr. Gerald Yingling. The committee will continue to accept written statements on today's hearing within 7 days from today, which may be mailed to my office on the second floor of the Guam Congress Building at 163 Chalang Santo Papa in Hagåtña. And you may also send your statements to us at Vice Speaker Tony Atta at guamlegislature.gov. Thank you all for your participation. This confirmation hearing is adjourned, and the time now is 2:47 p.m. Thank you, sir. Thank you to my colleagues as well.